go ahead and call this meeting to order. Thank you to our two guests that are in the audience. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the agenda. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Open forum.
I have no one to speak, sir.
We don't have anyone speaking for our open forum. Moving on to the consent agenda, do we want to move these three items separately since?
I don't think we want to, because unless you guys don't want to hear from FBLA, they made the effort to show up and be here, so I always like hearing from.
Did you all want to say anything?
If we don't need to, if you don't want us to, it's up to you.
Get up here and tell them what you're doing. It's really
Okay.
cool.
Yeah,
It's really
come up
cool.
here and
Yep.
tell us what you're
Are
doing.
you ready for
Yep.
some?
Yep.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so Miranda placed in nationals, or she placed in state first place in retail management. So she was the state champion in retail management and second place in organizational leadership. And then Lily Wolf, who wasn't able to come tonight, got top 10. So I think she got 7th in the retail management. So she was able to move on to nationals as well. So we are fundraising, we're requesting an overnight trip to Texas. We would leave Monday, June 29th, we're gonna fly out, and then come back Friday, July 3rd. And they're gonna perform, they're gonna do their test, and
That's great.
hopefully,
Awesome.
I mean, yeah.
Good luck.
We've gotten quite a bit fundraised for it so far.
That's good.
We've got more fundraisers coming up.
So 2 students going?
Yes. And then myself.
Okay. Well, good.
Awesome, congratulations.
Congrats.
That'd be
Good
fun.
luck.
Where at in Texas?
San Antonio.
San Antonio. That's right, you told me that before. That would be interesting. You guys will enjoy that area. It's definitely central, southwest central Texas. It has its own
I'm a
vibe.
Missouri girl, I've never been
I've
on a
never been
plane.
in Texas, so.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It'll be
I've
good.
never been on a plane, so this is gonna be really.
It'll be good.
Yeah.
A little bit bigger than Lynn.
Yeah.
Slightly
There'll be a couple people there.
Okay.
I believe San Antonio, am I right? San Antonio is the second largest city in
Yes.
Texas now,
Yes.
as of
Larger than
2025.
Okay.
We got this.
Cool.
I nailed that.
Good thing
Well, thank
about
you all.
driving.
But I will be driving down there, like, part of it.
Yeah.
We did get a rental car.
Okay.
That was gonna be our next thing, was to drive, but we were able to fundraise good enough.
You
that
don't
we're
wanna
gonna
drive to
fly.
San Antonio.
No.
That's a long
It's
drive.
a long
I
drive.
mean, we were gonna do, I told
It's
the
like
girls I'd move
23
mountains to
hours.
get them down there.
Oh,
So
no, San
No.
Antonio.
they deserve this.
Dallas is doable, San Antonio is.
No problem.
All right.
Well, congratulations,
Well, thank you.
Have fun, guys.
Thank you for coming up here.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda. Is that where we're at?
Yep.
And I'll second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. We can do these three items together. So is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Approval of transfer and payment of bills. I always say that wrong. We have a motion to,
I had a question on.
Yep.
One thing on there, it says athletic supplies, uniform, softball, what's $10,000?
It's for, we do $10,000 a year for uniforms. We've got with softball and football uniforms, we pay out the max of 10, they bill the rest of it July 1 for the next year.
So that's more than what just,
Yeah.
more than softball, okay.
Yeah.
It's a revolving item too, Brad. When we took that from boosters, believe it or not, used to pay all of that. So we created a $10,000 per year line item because it changes so much. Some years you don't really pay a lot for uniforms, but we figured that the $10,000 was about the average, and we could straddle that July 1 purchase date so that we could spread some of the larger teams over 2 with a smaller team. It's part of that schedule.
What kind of cycle are you guys gonna be on for like replacement? I mean, 4-year?
And that's
The-
every sport, right? Every sport's on 4-year revolving.
that's good.
Ideally, what it hits is that every kid at some point in their career will be uniform.
Even if they play one sport, every student should don one brand-new Wildcat uniform at some point in their career at least.
Are you replacing all of them at the same time, or all sports?
No, we did football and softball this year, and then basketball will roll in this coming year and into the new year as well.
So the 10,000 was basically like the budgetary item that you allowed for, and then the excess,
max.
that would have been for jerseys versus softball would have gone to those individual sports.
Good to know.
I'll move to approve transfer and payment of bills.
Second.
Who is the second there? Jill?
Either one.
Okay.
Sounds like Jill.
I think Jill won.
All right, motion has been made and seconded to approve transfer and payment of bills. Any other discussion?
Oh, I do have a question.
Uh-huh.
There was a line item on there, and I can't think of what it was called now, but it was a media place. Thrill something, maybe?
Thrill Share? If it's Thrill Share, that is our program that we use to communicate with families online.
Oh.
And so when we send a message out to all our families, say through a text or something, we send it out through Thrill Share.
And it
that's
hits all the different media.
That's right. And we can choose student groups, we can choose business groups, parent groups.
Thrill Share is also the website, knows.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Sorry, just didn't know that.
No, good question. Okay, any other discussion? Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Reports.
Good evening. So at the top of the list there, I always stick our enrollment numbers. As you can see, our enrollment at the high school has stayed pretty steady from this time last year. Our enrollment at the middle school is down from this time last year. We do have a very, very small cohort of students in 7th grade. So as they move up, they only have 35, 36 students. So as they move up, it's just gonna be a smaller group in that grade level. But coming over from CAMI this next year, we have 60 students coming over. So you're gonna see that fluctuate. Oh yeah, the middle school is definitely gonna have a shock to the system because we have not had 60 students in one grade level at the middle school yet since I've been here. So we're definitely making plans for them coming over next year.
That's sixth?
That'll be
Yeah, that'll be
coming into
6th grade. Yep, that will be 6th grade coming over next year. We'll have 60 students.
What's that?
Are they big at St. George? too?
Yes.
Oh, they're big
It's
in
the-
St. George
It's
too.
the biggest class that we have in St. George.
Apparently we have a baby.
It's like 29.
Yeah.
Right. We need to go backwards and see what kind of snowstorm was that year.
I know.
So we have 60 at 6th grade, and St. George has 29.
Somewhere around
That's an
there.
80, you know, depending on how many St. George kids are coming.
24.
Let's just say there's 2/3. That's an 80 student class that
amazing.
we're
That'd
gonna
be huge
have.
once we get to high school.
That'll be the biggest class we've had in a long, long
Yeah.
time.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Because recently, probably in the last 4 years, it's been right around 50 students is what we graduate. So
Uh-huh.
getting up to 80 something is gonna be,
Yeah.
yeah, a very large class. So those numbers will definitely fluctuate next year. And last Friday, of course, was our last day of school. We had award celebrations at both middle school and high school, and they were well attended by parents and family members that came in. We love honoring all of our students. All the teachers hand out some sort of award to students, whether they're fun, academic. It's just a great time to get together and be able to have one last day in the gym and say goodbye to everybody. It's just a fun event. We also did our state testing, and at the end of May, we had the kids did a great job. We were very impressed at how hard they worked on the test. All the teachers are bragging about how well they were attentive, tried their best. We incorporated breaks this year, something different than we haven't done in the past. Usually, we do random breaks. This year we did specific breaks after 20, 30 minutes. We made them get up and go walk, and then come back and sit down again. You need a snack, you need a drink, and then go back to the test, hoping to be able to refocus. So we're really looking forward to seeing what those results are. The teachers did a great job this year, working hard to raise those scores, and we're gonna use those scores next fall to influence our instruction and guide our instruction from there on. So we're also proud of our graduating seniors. Thank you guys all for being there at graduation. We had a great time. I think it went really well. I'm very proud of this group, the amount of scholarships and the amount of students that are going on to, whether it's a 2-year or 4-year college. It's very respectable. So we're really excited about this group, and I'm excited to be able to have them the last 4 years and watch them grow. So that was a neat experience, watching them go all the way through high school. It was really cool. So we also had our 8th graders graduate last Thursday night. I was excited because every single 8th grader and all their families attended that event. It was a great evening, pushing them on up to the high school and getting them ready for their new chapter in their story. So we do have a couple teaching positions that are available right now. We are gonna be looking in June to hopefully fill those positions with some qualified candidates. So if you know anybody, send them our direction. And with our climate and culture, we had Teacher Appreciation Week that last week of April. We was back to the 90s. The teachers had all kinds of treats and special surprises, and we really want to thank all the businesses and individuals and the groups that came in and brought items for our teachers. It's definitely appreciated. We want to let our teachers know they're not appreciated just during Teacher Appreciation Week, but they work hard all year. We really appreciate everything they do. And with our procedures, the big thing right now is the big move. Our teachers have been working really hard. They've utilized students to help pack up all their classrooms. Right now, the whole middle school, I'm pretty sure, Billy, is empty, right? It's kind of crazy walking around seeing empty classrooms. They've moved it all upstairs. We're getting our surplus ready. So procedurally wise, those teachers did a great job packing up. So that's going to be our next step, is to move into the new building. And so any questions, comments, concerns? Awesome, and again, I put a quick thank you note on there. I just want to thank you all for the time that you've had me here at Osage County R2. Just the relationships with the teachers, the students, and the board, and the community. I've really appreciated that. You've helped me grow in my career, and I'm never going to forget that. So thank you for everything that you guys have done for me these last 4 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if you know this, but Aaron has agreed to give us all the inner secrets of Owensville so we can beat them in the next several years. So when we beat them, just know that that's why.
Superintendent's report.
Awesome. I go a little bit more into detail on the written report, but I'm going to try and keep it a little more condensed and more oral. Climate morale continued to show both progress, as Erin was tipping her hat to it the last week and showing appreciation, but also know that we're navigating increasing pressure just within public education in general. Get forwarded a lot of social media posts. Teachers are disappointed, they feel undervalued, and that's hard. That's one of our main goals. Our two main goals next year are academic student achievement and culture and morale, but we're going to continue to struggle with that. Staffing and operations remain stable. We'll be at or slightly below our average turnover. Our instructional focus continues to be emphasizing student achievement. Summer planning is underway. We're already hitting the ground running and preparing for that open house, August 20th. Financially, we're just going to remain cautious for a while. There's uncertainty in state funding. There's inflationary pressures. There's nothing that doesn't cost more tomorrow than it does today. So our operational costs are increasing. We're continuing to work through Balance HQ, getting our budget pushed over there. I expect that to strengthen our long-term budget accuracy and really make our planning efficient. Summer school, one of the things I didn't include in my initial report with you guys, but something that we've noticed over this week is we're going to have some discussions about summer school and its viability from a financial standpoint. By the time we pay for a curriculum, but by the time we pay for our staff salaries, we made a little bit of money 5 years ago, but we have been slowly marching down as participation in summer school has dropped lower and lower. And I know last year it was pretty close to being break even, maybe 5,000 or 10,000. I don't think we have the enrollment this year that we did last year. So as we get that summer school enrollment or that report in June, we're going to take a really hard look at the number of summer hours that we've accrued and what ADA that's going to turn into. Just to give you an idea, those numbers help our funding. And so when we take a look at a full year for a student at 1,044 hours, if we have, say, 30,000 hours of summer school combined with all of the students, then we divide that by 1,044, maybe it's 25. Then we get 25 student units in formula payment to help us get through the years, and that totals a certain amount. Well, we subtract what we pay for the curriculum, we subtract what we pay for salaries and supplies. That number may or may not break even. There is a value, and this is what I'm going to come to you guys with later. I'm going to show you what that number is. Maybe we break even, and I think it's worth having summer school, even if we just break even. I think it's worth having in general. I think it's good for kids. But there may be a certain point with our current financial future that even you guys look and you go, oh wow, I don't know that we can foot the bill for that. Would it be a better use to maybe retain a teacher or put towards salaries to do that? when I get that number, which will probably be in the August or so, when I really, we're completing this year's our budget and preparing for the audit plus our summer school report. I'm gonna bring that back to you in August and we'll talk about it and we'll make the best decision that we can together. I'm not gonna make that decision alone because I think summer school is a community event also. Of course, it's a learning event, but I think it's a community event, so I'm gonna bring that back to you. And so expenditures, from a financial standpoint, there's still a lot of uncertainty. We'll evaluate participation, revenues, and figure out what our focus and priority for next summer school might be if we have it at all. And so we'll talk a little bit about budget again in 7.1, so I'll leave it at that. You guys have any questions or any clarification from my broader board report?
Bob, is there any indication on why summer school numbers have dropped?
I don't know that there's any one thing. Right now, for instance, we have quite a few folks that have no-showed that I would imagine as we draw closer to swim lessons, that's an important thing. I don't think people have prioritized it in the same way. I also suspect strongly because we're a 4-day week, people get some sort of daycare on those Mondays and they expand it in the summer, so it's not as much of an inconvenience. They have a spot there, but I don't know that I could point to any one thing other than across the board, and this is true across the state and across the United States, extracurricular, anything extra that's not mandatory, students are participating in less and less. You're gonna bring them here to learn all day, or they can stay home and play and screen sit. And I believe personally that it's a lot more screen sitting, and we are actually upping the level of instruction that we're giving kids in the summer. And we will continue to do that because our kids really need it. And as it becomes less campy and more instructionally focused, that is gonna taste more like vegetables to kids than it does cake. And I do think we're starting to see that trickle away.
We also see a lot of camps that happen in June, that kids attend, and sometimes once, they lose some of the incentives, gift cards and things like that from attending the camps, a lot of times they'll decide not to come back. And then I also think kind of what Bob said, parents are still paying for a spot in July or that last week in June sometimes, and so they're paying for it anyways.
Might be good to survey actually and just see at some point. The vast majority is the elementary. Rarely do we get middle school and high school kids outside of A+.
Do you feel like we need something class-wise for the middle school and high school students to come and do?
I'll tell you.
How does that, what have they done in the past?
We have surveyed our students and asked if they would come for like PE classes or personal finance, some of those things, and the survey results were so low that we couldn't justify offering it.
But I love the segue, Mitch, and it's something that I think we need to talk about in the very near future as the board. At Lynn, we have the absolute minimum graduation requirements for the state of Missouri. So a student can come in and very quickly, it's very, very easy to graduate a semester early here. I mean, all you're really missing is half of an English 4. My own son, without half of an English 4, could have almost graduated mid-junior year here.
Yeah.
And by coming in the summer, they're going to get credits that they don't need and not have classes to fill a full schedule as it is. So they just get ahead to force themselves to have to take classes that they don't want in regular year, or to go ahead and leave their friends early because we just don't have anything.
So for several years, we developed curriculum for classes. We offered, for instance, geometry in the summer school, so that allowed the students to get to dual credit classes. So that's the really bright students would take that to get a jump on math. And we also did a creative writing class for a lot of years. It was really neat. I did archaeology. We did a fake dig. We hung out with archaeologists, and it still was social studies credit. And then we offered PE, because a lot of students wanted to get that out of the way. So there was several things that was offered at the high school level. And yeah, we had to kind of recruit for the classes. We had to have 14, I think it was 14 or 15 that had to go. And you usually want about 18 to sign up because we'd have no-shows. But usually if we get around 14, it made financial sense to do the class. And they offered a astronomy class one time, and they went out in the field and camped out and had telescopes. I mean, a lot of really neat stuff that we were able to give them a elective for credits. Like I said, the geometry was a really big one. I think they had a chance for finance or something like that too. But there's several different classes offered. Not all of them went every year, but it took a little creativity on the teacher side. Paid all right, wasn't great, but a lot of us just did it just because it was something we offered. Kids wanted to do.
How long ago was that, Brad?
Huh?
How long ago was that?
That was like 2000, a long time ago.
Oh,
Probably,
wow.
yeah, I think we stopped doing it around 2011.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. It's not, well, mainly because of the ADA. We weren't able to claim, we got double counting back then, I believe. And so it was really financial.
I like that deal.
Yeah, it was a really good deal. And then they stopped that, and then it got harder to keep the classes because the numbers had to go way up. And you try to get 25 kids to come in, that gets tough.
That's what I was going off of. I mean, I knew it had been a long time ago, but I'm gonna show my age because I benefited from an ag credit and a PE credit 2 years before I got into high school and then after my freshman year.
Do you think it makes a difference that they offer more and more online classes that the kids can take during the summertime? Does that have any impact?
We have some students that take online courses during the summer, like the dual credit type stuff, but it's not as many as you would think. Not as many during the school year. We have quite a few
My
during the
kids
school year.
did, so like I can't judge what.
Right, exactly.
I would love for kids to take online dual credit class, or any dual credit class in the summer. I do not know what the turnout would be there, but I would love it. I'd like to see more of our students graduating with an associate's degree. I think that's completely possible. I think 25% of our class is capable of graduating with an associate's degree. It's worth pursuing as a goal, I think, as a long-term goal for the district. I appreciate it.
Any other comments? Okay, moving on to discussion items.
All right.
7.1, budgets.
You guys will be presented with a preliminary budget next month. That's the 26-27 budget at the June meeting. Current projections indicate that we'll begin the year a little bit less than what was in my original board report. We were working through Balance HQ today and found a discrepancy that pulled it just below 30 to 29.2% to end this year, which means that's the beginning of our fund balance for next year, which means we'll end next year at about 27.09. Now, before you panic too much, if you haven't been with me for very long, I am a very conservative budgeter, meaning I definitely overestimate expenditures and underestimate revenues, because I would much rather tell you guys, I'm so sorry I told you that we're gonna have less money than what we actually ended up with, because I think the other conversation is a much more difficult one to have. However, with the very conservative budgeting for mostly revenues and us withdrawing back on our operational and our HR expenditures, somewhere in that 27, 29 range is very likely to be where we end up at. With that being said, although I've budgeted especially SAT for what I believe should be the worst case scenario, they could still pay out at best case scenario and we could end up almost with an absolutely balanced budget. But the way I'm gonna plan it is worst case scenario. How did we get there? I think that's important for not just you guys to hear again, but also anyone that's listening in the audience, is that's staffing reductions. We cut 2 teaching positions, one at the elementary, which is gonna raise elementary class sizes, not below anything that's out of control, or above anything that's out of control, but it is. We cut another PE position. We cut a paraprofessional position. We cut an aide position. We've cut instructional supply budgets by 10%, activity budgets by 15%, and we are still looking for ways to cut operational costs. I mean, it's right down to, I started to look over here, Cliff and I talking about, hey, let's make sure and keep doors shut when we're cleaning. Let's turn lights off before we leave. Second shift custodians, they don't need to be on all night. They don't need to be on through the weekend. And so we're going to continue to look for opportunities. Another important element of this prediction is this: that assumes that every single one of our teams are gonna make, every stipend is gonna be paid out, and we're gonna spend every dollar. We typically don't do that, but that's pretty serious. You know, we went from a 34% ending fund balance budget prediction to a now just slightly below 30. You know, that's a pretty big drop from 7145 to 6900 to what I'm doing. It's just over 6700 for next year. It's a pretty big drop. I mean, it's that fund balance is going to be chipped away. This time, well, actually not this time, next year, spring of next year, if our budget forecast doesn't look any better, we're gonna, you know, I'm a little afraid now. We got class of 80 coming through, but we're gonna have to look at pulling down. Principals and I at the beginning of the year after registration are gonna be looking at class sizes and how many kids do we have registered. A little saving grace there with all the cuts. I think I'm claiming about 7 or 8 full SATs because we've grown. We've actually, I'm the only superintendent that of any room that I've sat in that has said our enrollments went up. I'm the only one. Any room I go into, everybody's like, we're losing kids. We actually went up. I'm not counting all of them though. Again, I would much rather give you better news and say I was wrong in that way. But we're limiting non-essential capital and curriculum expenditures. We were taking a look at a new math curriculum. We're not taking a look at it. You know, our math scores are struggling. Kimmy called that, you know, 18 months ago. She said, Bob, we really need to be looking at this, but we were going through our English and reading curriculum at the time. So we were slotted to do that math expenditure, but at a cost of $60,000, that's almost a full fund balance. We're gonna have to draw back from that and drill down with our math curriculum and our instruction a little bit differently. With that being said, we're just trying to focus most of our efforts on remaining financially stable and weathering these next 2 to 3 years. Very difficult. We're looking pretty good from a staffing perspective, but more and more districts are feeling pressure to become competitive, and we just can't move. You know, we moved from 33 and some change 4 years ago to 37,000, and when we made that leap forward, I told you guys that we're maxing out. I'm maxing out future dollars to get here. But what that means is we're right tipping on that balanced budget. 37 is the most we can do at the 275 minimum. But Career Ladder is another one. I want to keep Career Ladder. I think that's awfully hard to get rid of it. We'll spend about $35,000. That's about 0.5 of a fund balance on Career Ladder. You know, we could be 0.5 better. The long-term outlook remains challenging, but I think if we consider some really efficient moves, remain strategic in the future, there's a couple of options we have in the 28-29 school year that I'll talk about when we get closer to there, where we can be really crafty with how we manage our revenues. We'll be okay. It just means we're strapped for a year or two under current conditions. That's what it really means. Looking at every line and everything that comes across my desk that we didn't plan to effectively and efficiently expend is almost always going to be a no, unless it's so overwhelming a yes that we just can't risk not investing. If it's not an investment, we're not spending. I hope that makes sense.
How long until we have to have our base salary to 40,000 or 45?
It's already-
40,500. What?
Oh, 41.2, that is not next year in 26-27, but 27-28, it has to go 3% or CPI, which is 41.2. So it is 3% or CPI after next year every year. And
Okay.
so you're
So
looking
what's CPI?
Consumer Price Index,
Okay.
inflation. And so
Well,
that's
that's actually-
something that people don't understand. When they mandated 40,000, it's just gonna keep climbing on us.
And we're at 37 now?
We're at 37. 10 years ago, we were below $30,000. We've made a lot of progress in the last 10 years, but there's just no way. I think when I interviewed, my hope was that I could get us to 38,000 in 5 years. Something very important. At full funding, $7,145. At full funding, we get to 40,000 next year with a balanced budget, but we're not gonna get full funding. So I think it's gonna be closer to $6,700. They're predicting 6,900. They told us 71.45 this year. In March 10th, just a couple months ago, they said we were just
Right.
kidding. $6,900.30 is gonna be the number. So now that they're telling us 6,930, I'm thinking that we're gonna get, my wife's birthday is March 10th. She's gonna get another birthday bad mood from Bob because I attend something where they tell me, oh, we were just kidding, we're not gonna pay you out full. And so that's why I'm building it at a couple $100 less, because I anticipate that being the case. I wish I had better news for you. All we can do is manage it as best we can, and I believe that we will. I hate it for our staff. I really do. Because we're asking more and more from them. It's hard to look them in the eye and ask them to outperform yesterday when I'm not outperforming yesterday. And I don't mean that from a performance, although it's probably, I mean in what I can get them. That's tough.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Thank you. Moving on, July and August board meeting and work session.
You know, last year we decided not to have a regular July board meeting. We did have a special session, just a quick one to do some hires. So that is an option for this year, but I know in prior years we had discussed maybe having a board work session. Maybe this is the time for us to actually have a work session in July. The other is for the August meeting, that's August 20th. That is our open house. I believe our administrators, they need to be at open house. I believe with us presenting all of the bond projects, we probably need, I mean, all of us sitting up here probably needs to be out and about and talking with people. And so I think we should consider maybe moving that to either a different Thursday or maybe the Tuesday, the 18th prior to that. I think that would be a good idea. But July, if at all, or work session in July, and then a potential change to August in consideration of the open session.
You're gonna have to hire people somewhere in there. We do that still in July, work session then?
Well, you said short meeting in July. and then-
Yeah, we may still do a special open session, but technically, even work sessions are open sessions. Whatever we plan, anybody can come. You have to post an agenda just like any other time. Now, a closed session would be after that, and yeah, we could just hire during that.
Because obviously, you're not gonna be able to hire, August 20th or whatever. You won't hire anybody before then.
Right. I'm hoping we're done before June, and I'm pretty optimistic that we're gonna be done by June.
What if we did in July, we had tentatively, we picked a date and we had a closed session just for hiring, and then we maybe did it first and then did the work session afterwards.
I'm open to whatever you guys would prefer.
Okay. I know a few years ago, we did a work session, and it just was a good time to kind of have an open discussion without a lot of stuff to decide, but kind of talk about, what our goals were for the next year and kind of talk about the timeline and everything, and kind of set the tone for the next year's meetings. I can kind of try to come up with an agenda of what we'll discuss, but I don't think it would be anything overly time-consuming, but.
I think probably my number one goal in a work session, honestly, of that nature would be to decide how we're gonna make decisions. I don't know that everyone all the time means what's best for, or has the same definition of what's best for students. And that's not a dig at anybody. I just don't know, have we really ever talked about, when we make a decision, what are our priorities? When we say, what is best for students, what do we really mean? And so that as we have very difficult conversations, which we're gonna have over the next year, especially with budget, it helps to have a guidepost to remind yourself while you're having a terrible time making decisions that you'd rather not have to have a guidepost there so that you can unite under that guidepost and move forward confidently while everyone has the same understanding of what the goal is. I don't know that we've done that as a board since I've been here.
I think that would be good. Okay. Well, I guess we can move that in action items later on. Do we need to vote on it?
If you're gonna move the
If we're going to eliminate the July regular session, then yeah,
Yeah.
I need you guys
Okay.
to vote on
I will move to cancel the July board meeting in lieu of a work session.
that. At a date to be determined later?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that, or we can hold the same
Coordinate schedules.
meeting night, it doesn't matter to me. Would you prefer a date to be determined later?
I'm gonna be there. It's your schedules. I'm gonna be, you pick a day, I'm gonna be there. And so my work schedule
Yeah,
is.
I'm fine
this
with
schedule.
the currently scheduled date,
Mhm.
depends on what everybody else has got. Actually, moving the August meeting does work well for me.
Yeah.
I'm fine with the regular meeting at that, in July also, either way.
Good deal.
Okay.
Do we wanna, if we just do work session on the regular meeting date, I still may need you for competition's sake to do a special session, should we find it necessary between now and June.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, I wanna lock down any certified teacher that we can get and get them a contract just as quickly as we possibly can.
Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And then if we could just talk about the August date and then make one motion to
We could move, would it work to move the August date to that Tuesday of that week,
the
Mhm.
18th.
the 18th?
Okay.
I move that we move our August meeting to August 18th.
I'll just accept that as a friendly amendment to my motion. Does
Oh,
that
that's
work?
right.
Yeah. So, a motion has been made to have our work session at the regularly scheduled time in July, and while also moving our August meeting to Tuesday, August 18th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Yeah.
Andy seconds. Probably better. Yeah. Okay. I should have done hand votes earlier, so all those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion passes. Okay. Board meetings for the 2026-2027 school year.
Third Thursday of every month, with the exception now of August being moved to the 18th. We like to get that out so you can take a look at those dates. If you find any issue with any particular date, we don't necessarily have to solve that now, but if you could bring it to the attention of either the board president or myself, we want to make sure that we have a quorum. I doubt it's going to be an issue, but it's always good to get those dates out there.
November's not looking good.
We moved board meetings from Tuesdays to Thursdays a few years ago. Our thinking was that might help with timeliness with reporting. I don't know that it's really made any difference, but our hope was that it would be more relevant than by the time it made the newspaper, because it would be a little more recent. But Thursdays seem to have worked generally.
They typically do. There's always gonna be something comes up.
Right. Okay. Non-certified column on certified salary schedule.
Actually, I anticipate this being the most interesting conversation across the board. We're actually, like I said, when I talk to superintendents, I think we're doing better than them. They seem like they're struggling. We're struggling, but we're being successful with that. Having said that, many of them are considering an uncertified column, meaning I have a degree, but I don't have a teaching certification, or an out of certification area column. Some of them are doing two separate, some of them are stacked on top of each other, but what they're trying to do is get people in the door, but also acknowledge that they are not certified and honor those that are certified and meeting all certification requirements by keeping them on the traditional salary schedule, while also getting people in the door, working with them to get certified in their area. A couple of different versions of that are two. I've heard one school district, they probably don't want me to put their business out there, I'd give you their name, but that's just taken their base salary, and it's base salary for 10 straight years, and they don't think they'll have anybody that's there for 10 years trying to get certification. I've also heard of a percentage of the base salary and then doing the step as normal. For instance, at 37, maybe it's some percentage of that. We start them at 30 being out of or uncertified and then just do the 500. If we're interested at all, then I will bring that as a certification column to the June budget meeting. And we would approve that along, at that same time we approve our budget. There are some pros and there are some cons to that, you know. Not everybody's gonna come if you put them on a reduced rate. And so it kind of cripples them in that sense. I thought that was a great point. But it does give us an opportunity to maybe make a consideration that we wouldn't previously, knowing that we're not making quite the investment until that person gets over. Should we decide to do that, I think there are some operational things that we would need to discuss. For instance, I don't think it's in our best interest to hire somebody and then 5 years later they're not certified and they haven't taken their test. There's gotta be an end to that. And I'd rather we're in policy so that we could reinforce that. But I'm curious what your thoughts are. If we're not interested in doing that, then we won't do that. But if you're interested in doing that, then we'll try it. If it doesn't work for us, it's always try it for a year, and if it doesn't benefit our district, then we eliminate it in the next salary schedule.
We already pretty much have something similar. I mean, we have temporary status in place. If they have a degree, they qualify for temporary pretty reasonably for that.
Temporary
And
certification.
then we also have, if they have 60 hours, they qualify for a sub-certification, and we'll be working towards that bachelor degree to get them to a certification or certified position also. So there's already stuff in place, isn't there?
Right, but it puts them on the same schedule as the teacher who has been through all of it and done it the traditional route.
They've been doing it for 20 years, or 10 years, or whatever it is for the, I guess, pretty close to that, probably close to 15, 20 years where they, as long as you have a degree and you have a 2-year temporary with the, provided you get the classes that you need, and then basically at the end of that time, you get certified, so as long as you pass the test.
It's interesting. I actually thought you would be the one most in favor of the idea that if you're teaching out of your certification area, there should be something different.
Well,
So that kind of surprised me. Good
I
insight.
think that this gives this puts pressure on them because they only have 2 years for a temporary. There's pressure to get certified and be fully certified in the classroom.
That's true.
So, like you said, the people work hard for those certifications also. Yeah, they're gonna, I guess there could be some animosity, I guess. I've never seen it though in my 31
So,
years.
I do have a question on this though, like when you look at just the budgetary items and the requirements, if we do not have that separate column that identifies non-certified, are we required to start those teachers at the certified level? I mean,
Yes.
the Missouri base pay, like you have to take those considerations.
We are, yes.
Whereas if they are not, if we have this non-certified, we can say they are not certified and you can start at a lower value.
That's exactly right. It does give us that option.
Okay.
Without it, you must follow the
Okay,
salaries.
then I think it's necessary, like, my personal opinion on that is it's necessary to be able to bring new people in and have that qualification of, we are not mandated to meet X value because you have not met the requirements, right?
It would be a tool we could use. I think what Brad's saying, though, is we kind of already have a couple of tangent mechanisms in the 2-year provisional and the sub-certification. I see that point. That's a pretty good point, actually.
But does it have to be clarified in the budgetary work?
Has to be on our salary schedule. If we option for anything different than our approved, it becomes a part of our approved salary schedule.
And they're limited, there's only one renewal of that.
Right,
2
for that
years.
second year.
And then they need to get certified.
I mean, if we're talking about teachers that aren't certified that we're hiring, we're probably hiring them because we're not getting applications for certified teachers. So if we are not gonna hire somebody because they're not certified and then pay them, or pay them less, they're not gonna come here anyways.
Yeah. That's
So I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I kind of I'm not wild about creating another schedule that, I feel like it would create another complexity that, like, I feel like our current setup is already adequately serving our purposes, like,
Fair enough.
we're not hiring someone that is not certified unless that's what we've got.
That's the only option.
And then I feel like in every option that I'm aware of, like, we found a way to work towards our goal. So, I don't know that I would wanna, I'm not that crazy about creating another schedule.
Good. I have less work to do before the June meeting. I appreciate it.
Okay. Any other discussion? I'm glad you brought it up to us. It's a valid thing to think about, especially when, you know.
How many do we have that fall into this category?
Changes every year. Elementary, we have one. Trying to think, we have a class or two, maybe two at the 6 through 12 that are maybe teaching out of certification area, so 2 or 3.
Okay.
I do think we're in a blessed position right now. When I speak to other districts, especially in our conference meetings, that might be 10 or 15 out of 60 teachers that they're winging it with, so to speak. But I think we're pretty blessed, honestly. We're doing better than most.
Okay. I think we'll move on. Sidewalk on Wildcat Drive.
We were approached by Caleb Bax from Band Properties. They're gonna begin development there just south of Wildcat Drive. One particular thing that's interesting is when we really got to looking at where the property line was, it's actually only about 3 feet off the concrete over there. So technically, when we planted the trees over there, however many years ago, we planted them on the nursing home's property. As they look to fill and line Wildcat Drive, that's not their intention to line Wildcat Drive, it's to take advantage of their property, but it will line Wildcat Drive for about 700 some odd feet, all the way up to CC and then nearly all the way down to their entrance. They're gonna be doing some concrete work there, and it doesn't make sense for that little sliver for us to leave us out. And so they proposed that we work on that together. I'm not sure what that cost is, but I asked them to tell me what they were thinking. And in general, we're thinking of extending the flat part of Wildcat Drive 2 or 3 feet more to the line, putting a curb in, and then a 5-foot sidewalk along there. When we do track meets, that sort of thing, we have a lot of people walking in the road. Give us an alternative to that. In speaking with the engineer, they believe with that 30 or so inches that we actually meet the county road requirement, even with a parent parked alongside there for pickup. With what we have left, we actually have enough room to meet the county road requirements for 2-way traffic. And so by adding about 30 inches, we'll be able to maintain our parent pickup line. We'll have a curb there. We'll also have an option for our students for events to walk up and down Wildcat Drive, and we'll still be able to maintain the 2-way traffic control and honestly eliminate quite a bit. We've been mowing a lot of south of Wildcat Drive for a long time. It'll just be concrete over there, which will be nice, but it is an option. What I would like to do, and what I've asked them to do, is give us a number, like tell me what we're looking at, and then we would split that project in some reasonable way. I don't know what it's gonna look like yet, but I did ask them to bring that back. The other thing, which I thought was a heads-up play on their part, is Caleb said, you know, I know that you guys have wished you had bathrooms over by the track and another place for a while. While we're putting in our sewer line, would you be interested in us core drilling across there? And we'll just cap it, but if you ever use it, you'll have a sewer line sticking out over there. I think it's worth finding out what the price is. We do have some slack in our additional projects from the bond. Anything that we spend on that, nothing would come out of general fund. It would be out of our already passed bond proceeds, which would be considered an upgrade to district driveways and parking lots, which was approved, and athletic facilities, which would be for track and cross country if we use the upper part of it. And so it does fit that bill. And we could at least, I'll bring it back to you and you guys tell me, you know what, I think we should prioritize that and spend whatever, $20,000 on completing that project, whatever it ends up being.
I like it. They're parking there anyway. They're parking on the grass anyway, and that's what extend it and kind of
So basically,
clean that
we
area
would
up.
put the
We'll look
pavement
clean.
on us and the sidewalk would be on them.
That was my question, like,
Depends on
maybe-
where the curb falls.
The-
Will it be part
I mean,
on
if
ours?
we only have 30 foot and
30.
30 inches.
30
We got about
inches.
3 inch. We have about 3 feet. You know, it depends on how, they're gonna bring back a few different options and tell me what our option and costs are by linear foot. Does that make sense? And then we'll figure out what it's actually gonna cost us.
It makes sense to ask for estimates.
Okay. Do you need leeway to do this now, or are you gonna get the information and then report back?
You know, I don't know when they're gonna wanna start that project, so here's honestly what I would ask. Anything that we're chock full of projects, and this one is for the most part, no-touch freight for us, because it would really be handled by their project, and we would be reimbursing backs for that. It would just be connecting to us. I don't know how fast he wants to move. If he wants to move really fast, it would be nice to have that in place before our open house. But it might be this time next year. I don't know what that looks like.
Okay.
If it's really fast, I might reach out to you, Mark,
Okay.
and say, hey, they wanna move fast. Ideally, if we have $400,000 with slack, and I could explain that we actually have more, but I don't think it's worth your time at this point. But we have actual 400,000. If you could give me some leeway in there, like if you were to say, if
In
it's
the-
less than 10% of our slack, then touch bases with Mark, which he'll do kind of a straw poll with you guys, and as long as it sounds reasonable, then we'll move forward. That would be helpful to me if time is of the essence. Otherwise, I'll need to call a special meeting if it is.
Okay. By slack, to clarify, you're talking about our bonding our bonding funds for our current projects.
Yes.
Yes, to clarify. Okay. Okay, well, we can wait on that now, but it sounds like people are generally
I'll get back to you.
favorable.
I mean, it would be nice, cause they are putting new sidewalk all the way up to the library, so.
It'll connect to CFC's sidewalk,
Oh, they
it'll
are?
actually finish
I
that
didn't know that.
very
Yeah.
nicely. We
State,
won't have
that's
those
a
mud puddles over there anymore.
State job, it just,
Oh, good to know. Okay. Central office summer hours.
It's informational, really. After summer school ends, typically we're open 7:30 to 5. We pull those back to 7:30 to 4. That extra hour for the duration between summer school and staff coming back, we accumulate those hours, and then I send them out to training. So they get those hours while they're at training on different days that we're not at work. And so it's really just to make you guys aware. Sometimes people call you and they go, it's 4:15 and it's already closed. Oh, you know what, summer school finished up, that's summer hours. We'll put something out. We'll have it on the doors, but in case it comes your way.
Okay.
Have there been complaints before?
Never.
Moving on to action items. 8.1, resolution of election.
As we previously discussed, we continue considering the possibility of an operating levy election in August, so I included the draft ballot language for your review. I would need to read that out loud as part of this process if we intend to move forward. It's intentionally broad. I'm just gonna, I don't mind saying that out loud. If you get really specific, you open yourself to making a very small error and violating Missouri Ethics Commission guidelines and election law. So it is, have you ever heard, I asked the ALT that, have you ever heard of a district directly that passed an operating levy and changed salaries in the middle of a school year? I haven't either. And because I don't have a good framework and strategy to move forward, we're going to have to figure that out. By keeping election ballot general and not being too specific, then we don't create any pitfalls for us to make a very innocent, doors are open anyway. Look at anything you want with our finances or how we do things. But I think it's important that we don't hang ourselves there. I did get an estimate from county that said it will be at or less our current or most recent election cost, which was about $6,000. So I anticipate about $4,000 to $6,000 because of everything that's going on in August with other state and federal level elections. So it is about as cheap as you're gonna get for an election. But if we wanna move forward with that, the drop dead date is May 26th. We have to have everything turned in for the August election. Very important, somebody asked me this, if we just do it in November, why not do it in November? If we do it in November, the first time we receive a dime will be January of 2028.
Yeah.
So we would kick the can 18 more months. It's very important. We already identified it a year and a half ago. We ran an election in April that failed. Now we're 1 year down the road, and if we would have to wait another year and a half after that, we're talking about identifying a financial challenge and then moving it to potentially solve it 3 years later.
So this money would come in December when people pay their property taxes, correct?
Yep, December, January is when we see our big.
And then when do we get, the school district gets ours in January?
Yes. Yeah, we'll get a transfer in sometime
December, January, and February.
December,
are our
January, and
biggest
February.
months.
And so we would adjust the budget at that point?
We'd have to make that decision. I think a semester 2 break where we have 4 pay periods out of the way, we would just essentially say, if it's a $3,000 increase, we already have 4 out of the way, 1/3, so we would adjust by 2,000. 2 of the 3 adjust salaries and finish out the year in that way. Now, would that leave us a little bit of slack because of the way it did? Absolutely.
Sure, that's
We
fine.
would just keep that in the can, because 41.2, as you were pointing out, that comes to next year, and 42.5 and 43.
Yep.
You know, it's just gonna keep going. I don't think it'll hurt us. And honestly, it's just hard work. But it does make me anxious to do it mid-flight. With that being said, I want to get it to our teachers as fast as possible,
yeah.
teachers and staff.
Okay, having said that, I will move for a resolution calling an election on the question of whether to increase the operating tax levy ceiling for Osage County R2 School District.
I had a comment. I didn't realize we were done.
Oh, go ahead.
All right?
Yep.
Yeah, or we can have a second and discussion.
Okay, just, real quick, concerned about the optics. Yes, I know our teachers need money. Trust me, I know we need to pass a levy. I've worked here for a long, long time. But still, the optics, though, we've seen the bond raised, taxes 30%. We've seen assessed values go up. Insurances went up and increased there. There's still concerns about, you say broad, yeah, there's still concerns about where the money's gonna go. I still talk to people that are wanted a middle school. So it's failed twice, and a couple people online did not sway that 160 votes. So there's something, I don't know, something that we need to consider. And I kind of feel that maybe we should be finishing the bond projects, get the school up and running, show the community and the taxpayers all the wonderful things we're doing for our children here, and then come back and show them the need to continue that progress. So then address the levy, maybe look at for the upcoming election.
So you're saying push it down the road another year?
Just until April.
I think we were so close that, and without even, I think if we did a better job, the community did a better job, of explaining why we need to do this, I think it would pass.
I hope so. And something as important as this, and we really do need it. The fact that it shouldn't be that close, it shouldn't come down to a handful of votes. We should have, and why it was that close is still a concern, even though before that wasn't quite that close before. But this should be kind of like an overwhelming thing, I would think.
It didn't help, I don't think it helped that it was on the ballot with 2 items that were to
Yeah.
eliminate property tax or put moratoriums on property taxes, so that sort of,
That hurt us.
I feel like that brought out an element that is not normally
Whether
there.
it happen again, we're looking at the elimination of state income tax.
Well, that won't be until
And
November.
But they'll be pushing all that. We'll see, there'll be a lot of that out there.
You mentioned something about the middle school. What is and I'm sorry, I'm ignorant to this. What is the issue around the middle
A
school?
lot, I brought this up in open session before also, but a lot of people, I said, were concerned that we didn't build a middle school, putting classrooms out in the parking lot, but for the high school, it's not real, it's not middle school. And it seemed like there was a lot of confusion with people in the community about that. So, and-
I don't mind saying this, and I don't mind getting moved along if it makes me, but if you don't show, there's a lot of confusion, but if you don't show up to ask questions, if you only say what you say online where nobody can respond. I've been here 4 years, 12 months a year, that's 48 board meetings I've been to and 6 bonds. So that's 54 times that you can talk to me to blue in the face, and I guarantee I'll talk back about the budget. If you don't know by now, I don't believe that you wanna know.
all I have to say is people are voting, and we need to be listening a little more.
Well, I will comment a little bit on that, and that we are getting closer every time. I think those naysayers are becoming obviously, we're closing the gap. I think that this last time, we answered quite a few questions. I saw numerous comments 2 days after the fact that, well, if I'd have just known this, I'd have voted the other way. And it only took 3 people to vote the other way to have it passed. And they had every opportunity in the world to learn beforehand, they just chose not to. And that is, I don't know what else, other than dragging them in here and forcing them to go to a meeting, I don't know what else we can do. If they don't want to know, they're not gonna
And
know.
we discussed that too, like people not understanding Fund 4, Fund 2, they think that, oh, we got the bond, $9 million, we can spend it on anything. Well, we can't, but that still doesn't, I don't know what the solution exactly is. I'm worried that it's failed twice, it fails a 3rd time. There's a point where maybe the taxpayers, I don't know.
Well, I'm more concerned about the morale of our staff and our
I agree.
teachers at this point, and I think if we don't put it out there right now, we're gonna lose them.
I think it's gonna reflect poorly on our motivation to help our teachers and our staff, like, I don't know.
I think the education side of it, of getting people to understand, you know, that we mean business of, as Bob's saying, of adjusting salaries mid-semester would be key to, you know, being able to prove, hey, this money is gonna go where we say it's gonna go, if that makes sense. And, I mean, I don't wanna kick the can down the road another year if we can make it happen now. The timing of it is, as we've all sat here and discussed, is terrible with what was on there the last time and what could potentially be clouding it this time, but I think it's a necessity.
I get real concerned that we're gonna wait 3 years. I don't know what else I can do for you. You know, 18 months ago I said, yeah, we've been doing good enough. Sometime in the next 5 years, we're gonna have a tough run. Now, it came quicker than I thought. If I'm being real honest, it came quicker than I thought. But that means by the time that comes to fruit, we'll be 60% of the way through 5 years before we respond to it. And so we'll be in survival position. And I cannot stress this enough. We will move our salary to be tied for the minimum. When we go out to hire teachers, how many people are like, oh, thank goodness, they're paid the minimum. You know, that's not a position that I want to advertise. You know, I send them out. We go to career fairs, but I send you guys out too. It's not fun to stand there with a below minimum sign. You know, it won't be especially fun to stand there with we made it to minimum. What are we saying to people who want to come here when we tell them we're proud to do the minimum? And don't get me wrong, it is progress, and I'm glad. But as a community, everybody tells me they want an exemplary school. But we need to be exemplary across the board. And we keep aiming for the bottom. What is that saying? Champagne tastes, beer budget? Is that a saying?
Yeah.
You know, we want this amazing thing. We want a Cadillac on Hyundai money. Although Hyundais, good Lord, don't drive through a lot. But at some point we have to understand that great people have choices. They have choices, and they can go to Jeff City and make 50,000 plus free childcare. You know, we had a chance to have a great, I'm not gonna name any name, but a great teacher from a nearby district who said, I'm there, and then she goes, oh, your salary schedule. She just couldn't come. That's a true story. I'd rather not put her business out there, but that's a true story. We had a chance to seal a really good one. It was just too big of a gap. Too big of a gap. I feel like this. When I propose something like the salary schedule to you guys, I'm telling you that there's something out there, and here's a potential solution. And I'll let you guys decide yes or no. 4 out of 7 yes, or 4 out of 7 no, and we go one way or the other. Some version of that. I think we have to propose what our options are to the community and let them decide if they're gonna do it, but then let them live with the consequences also. But by never allowing them to choose, I don't know that we're doing them a great service, because when it doesn't go well, they'll say, and the same people who complain online, they'll say, well, you didn't give me a choice. I finally figured it out after that last one, and you didn't run it for another year, but I passed it when you ran it, and now you're 3 years down the road. Why are finances so rough at Osage R2? What are you guys doing over there with your money? Bob, I'm headed out to your house right now because I know you've got 2 pallets of bricks and a hot tub somewhere that we paid for, and I didn't. I cannot pay for that enough, and quite honestly, it's tiresome hearing. I'll show you anything ever. I plan on retiring here. My home is right out there, and I think I told somebody this. I want to walk through Thriftway with my head up and tell everybody hi when I go by, and they're going to tell somebody that used to be the superintendent. Not a story about when I used to be the superintendent, but they're just going to say, oh, I used to be a superintendent. He was here then. Not he used to be a superintendent in a hot tub, you know. I don't know what else I can do other than have the budget on this and have it on my phone at all times and say, if I meet you in the store and you want to know what we pay for widgets, I got a line for that and I'll show you. I don't know what else I can do. You know, I just don't know what else I can do.
And Brad, the only other thing I'd say is, we're just asking them to approve it. You know, it's their choice whether they do or not.
We've done it twice and it's failed, and I'm just worried to keep asking them, we keep failing.
But it seems like the momentum is going our way, so.
It does, but I also feel like maybe there needs to be more knowledge out there. We need to get out and maybe sell a little bit more. There needs to be more work. We're kind of like just throwing it in all of a sudden again.
I hope to do that.
Well,
We
there is
got 3 months to do it.
We got 3 months to do
Let's
it.
get busy.
We've got a committee. There's a committee.
Yeah.
We'll get it done.
And I have no doubt that we need it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just concerned about the timing. That's why I'm not.
Yeah, I think by not asking, you're sending a message out also, so.
I think there is a committee that is wanting to help us this time, which is a change from the last two.
Fantastic, too.
And so that, because it puts us, I've always felt kind of awkward serving as a board member and then being pro this, because there are limitations with what we need to be pushing. So having an outside community group that does this is going to help us tremendously.
That's needed.
Yeah. And we have, this time, I know that there's one
Progress.
that's forming, so.
I do think it's fresh enough in people's minds, and I think there's enough frustration with people that it didn't pass, that I think they've been a little bit more outspoken this time than last.
It was,
Yeah, I
the
agree.
response was different this time
Yeah,
than last time.
so I think I do think it's appropriate to do it while it's still fresh in people's minds.
Yep, can think of for sure one that's like, when are we gonna get to vote on that again, you know? And they are definitely in favor of it,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, so
We
we,
just need a second.
we have a motion on the table.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and a second.
Oh, look, do you mind, I believe I need to read the
Yeah.
ballot language. Proposition T, shall the Board of Education of Osage County R2 School District be authorized to increase the operating tax levy ceiling to $3.25 per $100 of assessed valuation according to the 2026 assessment for general operating expenses of the school district, including meeting the minimum base salary requirement for certified teachers, the associated cost of funding commensurate wages wage increases for support staff, and hiring a full-time school resource officer to serve all school facilities. If this question is approved, the operating tax levy of the school district is estimated to increase by 50 cents per $100 of assessed valuation.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, I'm gonna do a roll call vote. We'll start on this end, just to mix it up. Andy?
Yes.
Alfred?
Yes.
Mitch?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes?
Brad?
No.
And I'm a yes, so motion passes. I don't think that there's anything else well, there's nothing else on the agenda. I don't think that there are any discussion items that we need to move, so our next regular meeting will be June 18th, 2026. Do I have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
I move we adjourn to closed session pursuant to RSMO 610.021, subsections relative to personally identifiable employment information and personnel actions.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Brad?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Mitch?
Yes.
Alfred?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
I'm a yes.